The regular bus was delayed for 10 minutes, but it still came. What a blessing, otherwise Tanya already thought that she would have to get home by taxi or hitchhiking, and this is far from the best way to get home. Taxi is expensive, hitchhiking is dangerous. Tanya now lived outside the city in a country house that she inherited from her aunt. 2 years ago, this lonely and kind woman died, and it turned out that in her will she signed off her real estate in the name of her beloved niece. If you want, you can go and live there. That's how Tanya's mother suggested. If you don't like it, sell the house and come back. They lived in Novosibirsk at that time, and Tanya, in general, did not want to move from a big city to a small one, but she had just graduated from a construction college, and had not yet found a job, so she decided to try her luck in a new place, and if she could not get a job there, then indeed, she would sell her aunt's invisibility and he will return home with money. Tanya moved to a new place, and she liked this small, well-groomed, cozy house so much that she wanted to live there for at least a few days, and then a few months, and a year passed. The climate here was milder than in Siberia, due to the fact that spring came much earlier in these parts, and the cold was not as severe as in Tanya's native places. What kind of money has she been living on all this time? At first, Tatiana got a job in a village store, but she did not like working there, and she began to look for work in the city, since the bus went there from the village regularly. Tanya quit the store, and on the first day of searching in the city, she came across an advertisement for recruiting operators to a call center, went to the specified address, and was immediately hired there. Working as a call center operator has become a very interesting and in some ways even funny experience for Tanya. In the huge hall there were rows of tables equipped for operators' workplaces. The tables were separated by partitions and formed something like cells. There was a computer in each cell, and people were sitting at these computers. They were mostly girls with headphones with microphones. They had to conduct surveys using random numbers, either generated by a computer program, or pre-scored by someone's kind hand into some kind of electronic database. And so, when all these girls were talking aloud to customers, there was an incessant buzz in the hall, like in a beehive. The girls really worked in this call center like bees. However, they received a meager salary for their work. "Hi, what's your name?" On the very first day, the guy who worked there turned to Tanya. "Tatiana," Tanya replied, "and you?" "And my name is Timur," the guy said, and continued a little embarrassed, could you lend me some money? 200 rubles, 300, 500, but a couple thousand is better. Otherwise, my wallet is completely empty, and I still have to live and live before my salary. Oh, I'm broke right now, so I probably won't be able to," Tanya replied. "I took a credit card from the bank, and I use it, so let's take it off her." Timur perked up. "Nah," Tanya shook her head, "there will be a big overpayment." Timur snorted, turned around and left. It was heard behind Tanya. She turned and noticed the girl. She was a pretty, perky girl, with bright makeup, and against the background of a gloomy office, she seemed like an alien. "Yeah," Tanya nodded. "Didn't you give it to me?" "Nope." "Well, that's right, he asks everyone." "Is your name Tanya?" "Yes, and I'm Julia." "Julia?" The girl's name was indeed Julia. It turned out that her mother was an ardent fan of the TV series, Santa Barbara, and named her after one of the characters from this series. Tanya later crossed paths with Julia over a snack in the dining room, but they never became friends. There was no time to be friends here. We worked a lot. Because of Tanya's small salary, she lasted only 2 months there and quit. She didn't have enough money, there was almost no career growth expected, so she left. "Mom, there's just some kind of bottom." Tanya was indignant, talking to her mother on the phone. Mom supported her daughter both morally and financially, sometimes made money transfers to her, and even once sent a parcel with a 3-liter jar of red caviar and pine nuts. Not through the mail, of course. My mother's friend was engaged in long-distance driving, so he picked up a parcel on the way. This caviar helped Tanya out a lot, to be honest. Thanks to Mom. After the call center, Tanya got a job at a garment factory. Since childhood, she was able and loved to sew, so at first the work of a seamstress was a joy to her, and then the authorities began to load sewing too much, and severe fatigue appeared. But the salary at this factory was decent, so Tanya decided to wait until spring, and then maybe something else would turn up. And so, it was on the regular bus that she was returning home from her shift at the factory that evening. There was no one else on the bus except her. Tanya sat comfortably in the seat and dozed off. Anyway, her stop is final, so if anything, the driver will wake her up. Tatiana had already fallen into a deep enough sleep when the bus shook, rocked, and it stopped. "Ah, EPRESETE," the driver's voice was heard. "What happened?" Tanya shouted at him. "The wheels hit something," the driver said resignedly. It was a young guy, a little older than Tanya herself. "And what should I do now?" "What is it?" she asked, puzzled. "Change it," the driver said resignedly. "It's so dark," Tanya remarked, "and there is no other way out, especially since there is no mobile connection here, and so it would be possible to call someone for help." There was nothing to do. Tanya stayed on the bus, and the driver went to change the wheels, fortunately, even though he had just 2 spare parts. For a long time or a short time, but he was already finishing work. He even warned Tanya that they had to leave in 15 minutes. "Can I help you?" "What is it?" she asked, leaning out of the bus. "Yes, you can put a small tool in a box around me so that we can go faster." Tanya jumped down onto the snow-covered road, began to collect tools, when suddenly small greenish lights appeared along the side of the road. It was as if summer moths suddenly woke up and began to fly near the dark fir trees. "Oh, what is it?" Tanya exclaimed in disbelief. The guy looked away from the wheel and looked in the direction his hapless passenger was pointing. He suddenly screamed, well, just like a scared girl, grabbed Tanya by the hand and rushed into the bus, instantly closing all the doors behind him. "What's there? Aliens?" "What is it?" she asked. "Yes, what the hell are aliens? Look at it, it's a huge pack of wolves." "Or dogs," he shouted. "Or some other animals, but these were not dogs, and not others, but wolves." They went out onto the road and approached the bus without fear. Surrounding him, they stopped in the dim light of the headlights and began to howl. "My God, what an ominous howl, it's already freezing on the skin," Tanya said quietly. "What should we do now?" "Nothing," the driver replied. "We'll sit and wait until they leave, because I haven't finished the second will yet." "Awesome, hanging around here all night now." Tanya shook her head. "And what's your name?" "Miris," the driver replied. "I've never heard of such a name." Tanya was surprised. "My grandmother was from the Baltic states, she asked me to call her that." "You can call her Misha or Michael if you don't remember that name," said the driver. "No, I'll remember," Tanya assured him. "It sounds beautiful." Meanwhile, the wolves continued to howl. There were a lot of them, about 50 of them, no less. Or so it seemed to Tanya. Fear has big eyes. This nightmare continued for a while, and then the howling died down, and the wolves left, as if they had disappeared into the night. "Is that what it was?" Miris shook his head. It's creepy. But they behaved calmly, and this is even more surprising. You never know." Tanya sighed. "Animals understand us better than we understand them." He brought his thermos of coffee and a bag of pies and treated Tanya. "I had to get out and finish with the wheels. At such a late hour, it is unlikely that anyone will drive by, unless in the morning a grader will clean the road, but it is too long to wait until morning." Nevertheless, he plucked up the courage and went out, finished the wheels. Already, when he finished his work and was about to leave, the wolves came out of the forest again. The pack remained in the distance, and only one wolf approached Miris. The beast lay down on its belly and crawled towards the man, as if begging him for something. "No, I can't do this anymore." Even Miris got angry, taking a couple of steps towards the wolf. The wolf stopped and crawled back. Then Miris took a couple more steps. The wolf crawled away again. "My God, he's calling you somewhere," Tanya shouted from the slightly open window. "Stay on the bus, and I'll go after him," the driver said and, pointing the lantern in the direction of the fir trees, confidently headed towards the flock. The pack parted, spread out over the bushes and trees by the roadside, and he no longer saw them. Only one wolf walked ahead of him, pointing the way. The man no longer had fear. He felt the presence of wild animals everywhere, but he was unperturbed. It seemed to him that a quiet and confident voice in his head suggested that he should not be afraid. And then Miris understood everything. A she-wolf was lying under a fallen tree. For some reason, the guy immediately guessed that it was a she-wolf, and not a male. Probably by the way the wolf accompanying him ran up to her and licked her ear. The tree pinned down the wolf's paw. She could not get out from under the thick trunk. "I'll try," Miris promised. Who did he promise this to? A wolf? The poor wolf? To himself? He wrapped his arms around the trunk and yanked it sharply. The tree shifted, lost its footing and rolled down into the ravine. The she-wolf was saved. She was limping a little when she left, but everything heals quickly on wolves. Miris knew that. He looked after the slowly retreating pack. Then he returned to the bus and told Tanya about everything. "Oh, I shouldn't have gone with you," she was upset. "Maybe it was for nothing, it was an amazing feeling, as if they took me in," he said, started the bus and took Tanya to the village. After this incident, Iris and Tanya became friends and started dating. Then they got married and started living in Tanya's little house. Different stories happened to them. They got into different situations. It was their normal, everyday life. Miris still continued to work on the regular bus, and sometimes in winter, when he returned home from work in his car, on the stretch of road where he helped the she-wolf, wolves jumped out of the bushes and accompanied his car. It happened very rarely, so Miris appreciated such moments and never forgot the feeling of unity with the pack, with nature, which he once experienced. Dear viewers, if you liked this story, please like it and write a comment. And also subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss new exciting stories. All the best.